Welcome to the PowettPlay Podcast, where international cricketer Kieran, Powell and marketing genius Shannon join forces, bringing you captivating conversations with the biggest players in cricket and business. Join us as we dive into the lives of current stars in the cricketing world, the legends before them, and those extraordinary icons whose performances changed the game in both cricket and business. Exploring journeys both on and off the pitch, the boardroom, and everything in between. Get ready for an exhilarating blend of cricket, life, and business insights, with two insatiably passionate, infuriatingly no-holds-barred hosts, who, unfortunately for the rest of us, live and breathe this stuff for a living.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of the PowettPlay Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kieran Powell. And today we have a special guest. Well, in my opinion, especially slightly understated, as we have Sir Richie Richardson joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm chilling in the Caribbean, Sunday, St. Vincent, having a wonderful time. Great to be on your show. I'm happy to have me, and it's so nice to see Powell after quite a long time. My very good friend, most wonderful person. So yes, looking forward to having a good chat with you guys.
No, thank you for joining us. In terms of obviously starting out, I just wanted to ask you, how did you, where did your life in cricket start and your early days playing?
Well, as far back as I can remember, I was playing cricket. Used to play with a tennis ball. Matter of fact, even before we had tennis balls, we used to improvise. We used to get milk cans and pound them into shape. And get maybe like pieces of wood from a fence or even a coconut branch, make a bat, and we used to play. And then whenever we got access to tennis ball, we used to go down to the hotels close by and hang around the tennis courts and the loose balls that we'd get, we'd use them to play tennis ball cricket. And that's how I started as a young boy from as far back as I can remember. And when I started playing with a hard ball when I went to secondary school. So I would have been about 11, 12 when I was comprehensive school. That's when I was exposed to hard ball. Of course, I would have seen hard ball being played in the village by the men when I was a little boy. But then suddenly they stopped playing hard ball and only played with softball. But I had already had ambitions to play for the West Indies. So as soon as I got the opportunity when I went to this comprehensive school to play the game, I started taking it really, really seriously.
And you mentioned there about playing at secondary school. At what age did you sort of realise that you was probably better than the rest you were playing with?
Maybe even before I was maybe 8, 9, 10.
Right.
When I played in my village with the tennis ball, I used to play with the big men because I realised that if I wanted to improve, I would have to play with people who were better than me. So I used to play with the big men. And I can remember a couple of afternoons that I batted out for almost the whole afternoon because they couldn't get me out. And that's when I kind of realized that I had some talent, and if I went to the mind to it, I could do well. And it was around that time, I can recall the West Indies were playing Australia, I think, and everybody stopped playing, stopped doing whatever they were doing, and we're glued to a transistor radio, and we're getting excited about the game and the names they call, like Hall and Griffith and Sobers and stuff. And it dawned on me then that these guys must be really, really important and doing something great in the world of cricket and doing something great in the country. And I said to myself, I would like to be like these guys one day. And I started taking the game even more seriously, working harder, practicing harder, playing whenever I got the opportunity to play. And then
from secondary school, so where did it sort of lead then to in terms of representation?
Well, then so I started at this comprehensive at about, I think, 11 or 12, and then we played in the school junior competition. And then I got selected for a combined school team to play against a touring team from the UK.
Okay.
I did pretty well. And then, so it was like I was maybe, 15, 16, at 16, I started playing in the local first class competition. And then I think that same year I got selected for an Antigua select team to go to Anguilla to play one match. And then the next year I played in the full Leeward Islands tournament for Antigua. And then I think the following year I was selected to play for the Leeward Islands. So I was fast tracked in the sense that I realized that because of the amount of steps I would have to make, I had to do well. So I made sure that almost every match that I performed, and I made it very quickly into the West Indies team. So at 21, I got selected to play for the West Indies, having played maybe just one full season of the regional first class tournament. And and then my first match was in India, 1983, at Bombay, and I made a duck. I got out given LBW off the face of the bat. And that sort of like woke me up. And I said to myself, well, if this is what Test cricket is going to be all about, it's going to be tough, and I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to a little bit, and then you mentioned about representing Leeward Islands. How did that feel at that point? Or was that, did you have that that this was only the beginning and the next, and you visioned your next step in terms of representing the West Indies?
Yes, most certainly. As from I got selected to play for Antigua, I believe I had the ability to go all the way.
Right.
And then when I looked at the West Indies team that was doing so well, I mean, the team was so strong.
Yeah.
I was saying to myself, it's going to be really difficult to make the West Indies team because, here you have a team that's winning, some really great players. How am I going to make the team?
Yeah.
But then I think when some of the players went to South Africa, I think, I said to myself, well, this is going to be an opportunity because those guys were banned. And I said, well, that's the opportunity that I'll have to grab. And so that's when I first played for the Leeward Islands. And I scored a big 100 against Jamaica, including Michael Holding, Courtney Walsh, Patrick Patterson. Right. And then I also scored a big 100 against Barbados, against Malcolm Marshall, Joe Garner, and the likes. And I think after that, people sort of like started saying, wow, he's going to be playing for the West Indies. And I think that was 1983, and the World Cup was in England, and people thought I should have been selected for the World Cup, but I didn't want to be selected because I wanted to start playing at the longer version to give myself a fairer and better chance. And then later on I was selected to tour India.
And then you mentioned there about your first test being against India in India. How did you have any inkling that you was going to get picked? Was it the third test you played?
I can't remember which test match it was. If it was the third, might have been the third. I could have been. I honestly can't remember. But I played just one test because I got dropped after that. I scored 26 in the second innings. But So, when I was there, when I was selected for that first test match, it was so surreal. I felt like I was floating. I could not believe it. It just was unreal to be in the same dressing room with Clive Lloyd, Vivian Richards, all these top guys, but I quickly realized that if I wanted to be here for a while, I'd have to get my feet in the ground and start working even harder and start performing. Yeah,
definitely. And how did it feel in terms of obviously facing some of the West, some of the Indian greats as well, and obviously, from a batting perspective, Sunil Gavaskar opening the batting for India as well.
Yeah, it was very exciting to be selected to play against these guys, especially Sunil Gavaskar, who was one of the batsmen that I rated highly. So I was excited, but it was difficult for me. It was nerve-wracking because touring India for the first time, it was a cultural shock. Yeah. Plus the wickets were totally different because in the Caribbean, the surfaces looked rough. The ball used to turn a hell of a lot. So it was really, really tough, really, really, really difficult. So you just had to really dig deep. And back in those days, we didn't have neutral umpires. We also didn't have the technology in the game to prove whether you're out or not out. So it was even more pressure for us because obviously a lot of decisions were going against us. But we were determined, and of course we had a great team under Clive Lloyd, and we were determined to win. And we won the series, and we went on and we won the ODI series as well.
In terms of obviously the first test match you mentioned, then there was obviously a bit of a break for your next test match. How did you sort of take that sort of gap in between?
What happens? I think because we went to Australia after that, but it was a ODI series, a World Series in Australia, And so came back to the Caribbean. I think we were playing a test series against Australia. And I was not selected for the first two matches. No, that's not true. I got selected for the first two matches and failed. And then
Right.
for the third match, I think I was dropped. But fortunately for me, Gus Logie wasn't feeling well, and I was drafted in. And I said to myself, well, there's no way I was going to be dropped again. So I grafted and grafted and grafted, and I scored a century and not out, I believe. And after that, I never got dropped again for the West Indies.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think that was when I was looking at the scorecard. I think I looked and I thought, like you said, you mentioned there, you grafted, and I think that obviously epitomised your sort of mentality going into it. That this opportunity wasn't ever going to slip through your palms again, sort of thing.
Yes. Sure.
Not to cut you off, Manish, but can I just jump in there? Obviously, before we even get to my question, Jordan, I just want to emphasize how much this man means to me in my life. Growing up, my dad is like the biggest cricket aficionado. So like I've watched literally every cricket tape of West Indies from the Kingdom Come until now. I could literally tell you innings by innings, and this man, he has always been a father figure to me. Like it's one of the few people I've ever had in my life as someone I'd say that I've really looked up to and as a hero, especially in the cricketing world. And he's never disappointed in terms of transferring information, his personality, even just his relationship with me and Emma outside of cricket, and just as a general thing. So like he means like so much to me. We're just so happy to have him on. But to go further on that, Manish, can you just take us back to, obviously I know we're touching onto the West Indies standpoint of thing, but I think that what's lost is, I guess, all the hard work that people put in to get to that point. And like someone like a Taddy Arundel, who my dad tells me is very instrumental back in those days in getting players from Antigua in particular right for West Indies team. What was his influence on you?
Yeah, well, first, let me just comment on you. You were not only just a very special player, you were a very special human being. And you had, in my opinion, very similar personality to me. You were always willing to learn and listen. And you always used to hang around mature people like myself, the coaches, the support staff, which is what I used to do when I was younger. I used to hang around mature people who I think can influence me and can help me. And for some reason, you were like that. You were always hanging with us and always willing to learn and want to learn from us. So we were more than happy to always share our knowledge and experience with you. In terms of talent, you were one of the most talented youngsters that I've ever worked with. And I honestly thought that you would have gone further, but such is life. We saw captaincy material in you as well. But, you've tried your best, and that's history now. But it was a pleasure, absolute pleasure knowing you, working with you, and just being in your company. We had some good times together, just talking about cricket, talking about life in general. So that was special for me as well. And it gave me pleasure to be able to share my knowledge and experience with youngsters like yourself. In terms of our development now, I grew up with it among some really hard, tough cricketers. We all know what Saviv is like. And there are a lot of guys in Antigua at the time who were like Saviv. Like you mentioned Taddy Arundel, we call him the Ayatollah, and he was so tough. We had Guy Yearwood, who was also my coach. And these guys were so hard. I can remember one time I played a bad shot. Guy was the coach. And down in Villa, I don't know if you know Villa, Paul.
Yeah.
Just from north of the Deepwater Harbor, and I live is south of Deepwater Harbor. So when I was walking back, guys said to me, "Look, don't come here. Just you might as well swim across the ocean and go home to Five." And he was serious, So these guys are really tough. Taddy Arundel, if you turn up late to practice, he will tell you do 12 laps, and if the last 2 laps you're slowing down, he said do 4 more. These guys were tough, but they mean well. They want you to succeed, so that's why they were so hard on you. I mean, guys like Ralston Otto, John Archibald, Gene Gould, they all played for Antigua. Some of them played for the New Islands, but they helped us a lot. It helped a lot of us. It helped, let myself, Ellen Baptiste, Kenneth Benjamin, Winston Benjamin, all these guys. And, and Ulysses Lawrence. So I really give these guys credit every time I get the opportunity. I speak about them and how much they have impacted my life as a youngster growing up, because it wasn't just about playing cricket. It was about life in general. They taught you a lot about life and how you have to carry yourself and stuff like that. So yes, but Toddy and Guy are the two main coaches that I had back in Antigua who really made me the top individual that I became as a cricketer.
And on a cricket standpoint, you see now, I guess, West Indian batters not faring so well against the short ball, which is something that I know probably in your time you'd have never even dreamt of seeing or hearing about, especially someone like you who lives for a cut and a pull. What do you think is sort of, I guess, the problem in West Indies cricket now?
Well, it's very hurtful, knowing what West Indies cricket was like back in the day. It was all about pace, and playing shots. If you went to Barbados and you don't bowl a short ball as a fast bowler, the Bajans are going to give you a hard time. It doesn't matter whether you're opposition or not. If you don't play a hook shot or cut shot, the Bajans are not gonna like you. And that's what it was like in the Caribbean. We love aggressive, exciting cricket. But of course now, as you mentioned, a number of our batsmen struggle with the short ball, and to me it's very painful, it's very hurtful. But unlike a lot of people, I'm not going to blame the batters. I'm not going to blame our cricketers. I'm going to blame the people who are responsible for creating and making sure that our youngsters have the right environment, the right pitches, the right facilities to work on and develop the games. And a lot of the pitches in the Caribbean have deteriorated. They're not good. They're not conducive to proper stroke play, and hence, if you cannot play your strokes, if you cannot play properly, it means that your confidence will be dented. And you cannot learn, you cannot develop if you don't have any confidence. And I think that's an area of the game that we need to focus on in the Caribbean. But the authorities, for some reason, don't see the need for doing that. And for me, it is very, very, very disappointing. I mean, we make a lot of noise and we could criticize the team and the players for not doing well. But the little things that would make a big difference, we're not focusing on those. So it's really unfortunate, but until we can really focus on the pitches and get them right, give the players the opportunity to work at the game and to develop, I think we're going to struggle for quite some time.
And obviously you made mention there of some of the greats of Antiguan cricket. Obviously we could go into the other islands as well, but what was it like back then playing, I guess, locally in Antigua and playing for the Leeward Islands, fostering sort of a culture where, today someone like me playing for the Leeward Islands looks at that generation and tries to pass on to this crop of players the importance of understanding who we're representing and the players that we've come from. Like, what was it like back then in terms of creating that culture, with the Leeward Islands being sort of a new territory within West Indies cricket at that point?
Well, you see what used to happen. In my opinion, things do change. The players back then had the opportunity. The senior players, the players who were playing for a while and who were really, really good, had the opportunity to rub shoulders with us and teach us and coach us along the way. We used to hang with them a lot. Now, the structure for the game worldwide has changed. It's very organized. And here in the Caribbean, even though we present ourselves and we often offer our help, because of the structures, we don't often get the opportunity to rub shoulders with our young developing players. And I think that is very, very sad. Some of the coaches probably, I don't know if they don't think that we are needed, or they think that, or they feel threatened or whatever. But for some reason, we don't do as much as we would like to do. And we are not the sort of individuals who would go and force a way in. If we invited, we will certainly go and assist as much as possible. So I just think that we need to embrace our legends a bit more in the Caribbean, get them more involved, even just to motivate the youngsters, let the youngsters know what we've been through, how we used to train, how we used to work hard, how our coaches used to handle us. But I believe that people who are involved now who don't want to go through what we have gone through. Of course, I know things have changed and you have to do things differently. but the cricket ball is still round, it's still red, it's still white. It's cricket is still played on grass. So there's certain things that we have learned, there's certain things that we do that can still be of value to our young players. So I don't know if this will change, but I do hope that our youngsters can have the opportunity to rub shoulders with us a bit more often, create situations where, for instance, in Antigua, I don't think there's anywhere in Antigua you can go where there's an archive where young cricketers can go and maybe read about themselves, survey, even look at pictures, look at videos, or something like that. I mean, Stanford tried to do something similar, but we all know that story. But I just don't think we do enough in the Caribbean to promote the legacy of our cricket and our cricketers. We have always had a very strong cricketing culture, but a lot of people, especially younger people, don't know the real history of West Indies cricket, where we started, how much we had to toil in order to become the best team in the world. Even way back when black players didn't have the opportunity to play. And when they were first introduced to playing, they could only bowl to the masters, and they'd bowl all day in the hot sun and stuff like that. All these things, the history of our game need to be taught in our schools. It need to be in our universities, so everybody knows about it. Everybody has the opportunity to learn about the history and the legacy of West Indies cricket. So I think, our governments need to get involved. All the cricket associations need to get involved and really try and encapsulate West Indies cricket. We need to do that so we can present it to our youngsters and present it to everybody. I mean, a lot of people come to the islands and they're interested in our cricket. They want to learn something about the history of our cricket. They want to go to the ARG. They want to go to Sturge Park. They want to go to Warner Park. They want to, because they've heard and read about these places. Yet we don't do enough to even preserve these facilities, and I'm very saddened by it all.
Yeah, I mean, you touch a few points that I've been an advocate for on this show for a long time, especially in terms of the mentorship, because you look at the other, I guess, territories around the world, they're legends, they're greats, they always incorporate them in some shape or form. And, it's, for me, it's sad because, like, the information that you said, someone like yourself, Sir Viv, Sir Kirtley, all these guys would have attained over the years, we can't afford to just let that information go without having it transferred, because I know personally some of the conversations we've had, and just, it doesn't even come down to coaching. It's, I think, for me, more mentorship and understanding how you dealt with certain situations and how it could be applicable to me going to bat. And I think, there's so much natural talent in the Caribbean now, regardless of what anyone wants to tell me, but it's just the lack of mentorship, like the people that have been there and done it to sort of help and give that guiding hand. And I think that the governments, as you said, the governments and the board sort of need to work together, because, there's always something in West Indies cricket where it's always a matter of, this island feels they're bigger than that island, or they should have more representation, which is not helping West Indies cricket, unfortunately. It's just politics at the highest order. So I'd definitely like to see a change in that. But your time as West Indies captain, how did that impact you personally, and what sort of lessons did you learn from that in terms of, I guess, being around a group that was so highly successful?
Well, first of all, when I was asked to captain the West Indies team, I was really surprised because I never expected it. So Dave was the captain, Desmond Haynes was the vice captain, and we thought naturally Desmond Haynes would have been the next captain. But then when the board called me, I was really, really surprised and shocked. And then I called my manager at the time, Victor Michael in Antigua, and I said to him, look, I just had a call from Stephen Camacho, who goes through the board, and asked me if I would like to captain West Indies team. And I said, he said, oh wow, it's a wonderful opportunity. I said, but Desi is a natural successor to Viv, and Desi's my good friend, my roommate, and I wouldn't feel comfortable, But then Victor said to me, look, I understand how you feel, I know how close you and Desi are, but it's a great honor to captain your country, and not many people will get that opportunity, so you should take it. So I thought about it a bit more, and then I called back West Indies to the board, and I said, okay, well, yes, I would take the job. Of course, Desi was disappointed, but when I spoke to him, I explained the situation, and he was very good because he gave me tremendous support. And of course, Viv wanted to continue playing, even though he had retired, but he wanted to come back and play one more series. And the West Indies selectors thought it wasn't a good idea. So he was not selected. And of course, everybody blamed me for not selecting Viv. So I was not very popular in Antigua and Barbuda, and I was not very popular around the Caribbean because a lot of people didn't think that I should be captain. Because of the insularity that you spoke about earlier, a lot of people in the Caribbean, especially Barbados, didn't think that Viv should have been captain. And now another Antiguan becoming captain was another problem. But I was mature enough to understand that situation, and I dealt with it my own way. And my most important thing was to rally the players together, get them to work together as one, get them to believe in themselves and believe that as a team we can be successful. And of course, we had lost some great players like Gordon Greenidge as well. So they've Joel Garner, Malcolm Marshall was still in confusion. So my task was to really get the guys to believe in me and work together with me to continue to perform. And I think I was successful in doing that initially. And we continued to do really, really, really well. It wasn't easy because, as I said to you, I had no experience as captain. I only captained, I think, 5 matches prior to that for the Leeward Islands when Dave got injured in the first match the previous year, or the same year, I think, against Barbados. I took over. And that was the first time that we won the championship, and we won every single match. So people were really impressed with the way the team played and the way I captained, and that's why the West Indies asked me to captain the West Indies team. But yes, it was very, very tough for me. It was really, really hard. But I spoke to all the players individually, and my approach was for us to work together. This is not about the captain or any specific individual. It was about a team. Everybody needed to be part of it. And I thought it was the only way that we were going to continue to do well. And we did that. Of course, towards the end of my career, things started having breakdown. There's a lot of internal things started happening within the team. Some players started becoming very ambitious and wanted the captaincy and all that, and started undermining the captaincy and disrupting the team and stuff like that. But I don't want to go into that because it's negative, and things like that never really bothered me because I know what people are like. And my focus was just to play for the West Indies, play hard, give 100%, and get the team to do as well as they could.
Yeah, so your life after cricket now, obviously, you're ICC match referee extraordinaire, but what Jordan and maybe other people won't know is that you are also a key member of the Dread and the Ballhead. Tell me about the music side of things.
Yeah, well, before I retired, because I used to play guitar. I remember when I was going to school, I had 2 Venezuelan teachers, and they introduced the cuatro to the school, and I took a liking to that. And then, unfortunately, they had to leave. So whenever I saw someone with a guitar, I'd ask for a little borrow and try to play. And then I bought myself a book and learned to teach myself to hold chords, and eventually bought the guitar and started playing. So I eventually bought a guitar on tour and used to play to keep myself going, and whenever I was a little stressed, to relax and stuff like that. And currently, Ambrose and I used to room, and so he liked singing, so he used to sing and play, pretend to be playing drums and stuff like that. And then eventually he bought a bass, and then we started practicing a lot in the evenings and making a lot of noise, because I don't think we were playing music. And we were threatened by several hotels to be thrown out. And then we told ourselves once we retire, we will form a band. And so just before, I had retired, and I was running this bar restaurant, and we had a celebration party for both Curtly Ambrose and Putney Walsh for their successes as a hunting team. I think it was like Curtly Ambrose 400 wickets and Putney Walsh 500 or something like that. I can't remember. And there's a popular band called Jen and the Ballhead who were asked to come and play at this function. And of course, Ambrose and I went up and did a little sneak preview, and it went down quite well. The crowd was very, very excited. And then, so I told Kurt, well, look, we definitely have to form a band when he retired, because I retired at the time. So when Curtly eventually retired, I went to the leader of Jen and the Boy and said, look, Curtly and I want to play some music. Can we borrow some of the equipment? And he said, well, I'm glad you called me, because I was waiting. I was going to give you a call. Jen and the Ballhead is no more, and I would like to form a new Jen and the Ballhead with you and Curtly. So I said, oh, great. I'll speak to Curtly, and then I'm sure he won't mind, and we'll get back to you. So we started practicing up by my house, making a lot of noise in the community again, upsetting the community. And, we went on for a couple of years. We produced, I think, 2 or 3 albums that went down pretty well. And then after that, a few years, we separated from Jen and the Ballhead. Well, the lead singer, he wanted to move on. And so the rest of the members stayed together, and we call ourselves Spirited, and we're still going strong up to today. But before I become a match referee, as you mentioned, I managed the Western Spirit team for about 3 or 4 years, which was a wonderful experience. I love to work with youngsters, and it was a great privilege to work with yourself, Powell, guys like Jason Holer, and a number of the other youngsters. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I didn't quite enjoy working with some of the older players, senior players, because they wanted to do their own thing. But guys like yourself and Jason, as I mentioned, you guys were people that we could work with. And I believe that if Cricket West Indies had focused more on the young players and groom them and work with you guys, I think things would have been better today. But I don't want to get into that. In 2016, I applied as much for match referee job with ICC and got it, and that's what I've been doing today. It's a great experience for me, something different, but I enjoyed working and still making a contribution to the game. Going all over and catching up with players that I've played with in the past, and just continuing to really serve the game that we all love so much. It's a lot of work, very little free time, but I enjoy it. And my goal in this life is to see cricket become a totally globalized sport. I would like to see it become more popular than football. And whatever I can do to help, I'm going to give 100% all the time. The glorious game, and it's growing, and I'm really so excited to see that the ICC is investing in the women's game, which is growing really, really fast. And as we see in this World Cup as well, they've included a lot of other teams, giving them the opportunity. And that's the way to go. You got to give as many people the opportunity. That's how you're going to grow the game, create interest in those countries. So I think we're on the right track. We've got to continue to promote the game, support the game, and do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's a great game, and I've benefited tremendously from the game, and I just want to see the game continue to rise.
And my last question would be, what are your thoughts? Obviously, I mean, I know you can't necessarily say who you're supporting because of your position, but what are your thoughts on the current T20 World Cup that's happening?
I like how it's going. I in any sort of competition, I always like underdogs. If I'm participating, of course I want to win, but I think when the underdogs beat the big dogs, it creates more excitement. And for an event like this, when say, I don't like to use the word minnow, because in T20 game anybody can beat anybody. But when the teams that are not so highly ranked cut down the big trees, I think it's exciting, and it's good for that team. It's good for the tournament. It's good for world cricket. So I like to see that. I mean, of course, teams like Australia, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, Australia, all these teams, they've done it before. The top teams, and of course the West Indies won it twice as well. But if a lesser team come and win the tournament, I would not be disappointed because I think it would be good for them and it would be good for the game.
No, perfect.
That's 1 second. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate you taking your time out. You're such a busy schedule. So thank you so much for joining me and Kieran tonight. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have this chat with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, same here, man. It was a pleasure. And Paul, great to see you again, man. Don't be a stranger, man. Let's hook up. Next time I'm in England, I'll definitely link you up and we go for a meal or something and give Emma my love.
100%, and I'm gonna try and start getting into golf. So I'm gonna try and come and play your golf.
That's the sport, man. That's the sport, man. You gotta get involved, man. You know, I can see you doing really, really well, man.
Right.
Yeah, man. All the best, yeah.
Cheers, man. Speak soon.
And see you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the PowettPlay Podcast, hosted by Kieran Powell and Jordan Shannon. We hope you enjoyed this immersive dive into the world of cricket and business, exploring the unique experiences and perspectives of players past and present, alongside those invaluable insights into intriguing business themes that transcend beyond the boundaries of sporting heroics. Be sure to set your reminders on your Alexa or Google Home device, or we won't tell anyone if you still use those paper calendar things from a bygone era. Join us next time for more inspiring dialogue with scintillating minds on the PowettPlay Podcast.